When gimmicks become so common, it gets very tiring after a while. So, like this solution that was found to counter the attention economy and the short attention span that we have, well, it's just tiring people out. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you're revenant. Please consider subscribing if you like everything and anything about secondhand fashion, chaotic styling, and yapping. And before we start, I would just like to thank you from the very bottom of my heart for reaching 1,000 subscribers. Like, thank you to all of you. I'm so glad to know that so many of you kind of relate to my yapping, relate to my thought process, and are also very much into, you know, thinking more critically about sustainable fashion and fashion in general. I feel like that the moment you start thinking critically about one subject or one aspect of, your life, you start to think more critically about everything and trying to better everything. And it's actually a really nice bridge to let you know that I've started a Substack where I'm going to start writing about societal issues and other subjects that are maybe more personal, but that does not touch necessarily upon fashion. I've been reading Substacks for a while now, so I finally decided to really give it a go. And so, like, my Substack link is in the description. And my latest article was about the Met Gala and the dystopian and celebrity culture. So that's a piece that I really enjoyed writing. So if you enjoy reading things and want to also, like, see my thought process and my opinions on societal issues, please subscribe to my Substack as well. So today's subject, I want to talk about fashion gimmicks because a few weeks ago, High Snobiety published a post on Instagram about some box shoes being sold as regular shoes. I think it was Adidas or something who wanted to make box shoes a thing. And like when I saw that, I was just like, okay, okay, I think fashion is in crisis because of the lack of innovation. So, because of that, because of the attention span being also shorter and the need to kind of engage with people, it got me thinking about all the gimmicks in fashion and how fashion has been gimmicky a lot, especially on the runway. But I feel like that because of social media, because of virality, and the need to kind of stand out from other brands in a world that is actually very much getting conformed because of monopolies. I would like to start with, has fashion been always gimmicky? And I feel like that fashion and gimmicks together have been something that has existed for the longest time, to be honest. Like a lot of things within fashion, gimmicks are not new. And if you, for example, look at McQueen, I feel like that McQueen, his runaways and creativity was seen as very gimmicky back then as well, because his shows were really grand. We all remember Shalom Harlow and those robot hands and stuff, which I feel like is very reminiscent of the company with Bella Hadid that happened a year ago, where everyone was, about that. Well, I feel like the first thing when I saw that, it kind of reminded me of that. And so, like, fashion has been, has seen some gimmicks within its realm for a long time. I just feel like that before it was more about like making a spectacle of the show, because gimmicks, basically gimmicks are just like an element that is added that would feel a bit weird or a bit too much or kind of unwearable. And that is what a gimmick for me is. It's something that you don't, that is not very usual within the realm and stuff. One example that I have in mind is Loewe by Jonathan Anderson, with this show of like those big, you know, leaves. I don't know how they called, but those are like the kind of leaves that you would find in a pond, you know, all of that. And those were made out of like it's a metal. And I've actually visited an exhibition in London that he had. That was actually a really nice one, and you know, you could actually really see the things, and you could actually touch the whole thing. Well, you could see that it's the really the type of thing that is actually so uncomfortable that you would be like, who would wear that? And you know, uh Anderson has also come with like this car dress and like very kind of wonky shoes and stuff. And for him, those gimmicks are kind of in a way to show. So everything that might inspire like a collection and an item and stuff like that. So that's why he's been using gimmicks. But in general, like gimmicks are not something that are very new. And in every show we do see some gimmicks. Like I feel like that gimmicks are also, for example, can also be the like a non-model walking down the runaway. That could also be a gimmick that you're not expecting. For example, Paris Hilton walking and closing, I think, Versace show, you know, having that is also kind of a gimmick, like a shock factor, something that, you know, you so don't expect that, you know, it's out there. But like outside of, you know, those luxury brands, regular brands have also been playing with gimmicks. This lack of creativity within the fashion world has kind of pushed people having to, you know, come with very crazy, outrageous item of clothing or just accessories. So it's being talked about. And there's this whole need that it should make an impact where people are seeing it, people are just like, what the hell is this? And kind of get curious and kind of, you know, talk about it. Like, for example, when you think about the mischief boots are the kind of thing where you're just like, why, who would wear those cartoonish massive boots? Because those look really uncomfortable, unpractical, very bulky, and it's so cartoonish that you're just like, would someone really be willing to be looking this cartoonish outside? When we have this kind of very cartoonish element coming out, it just looks completely insane, where we just like, why would we go this far into bringing a cartoonish element into real life? And the answer is that it's for the impact of it, because when those mischief boots came out, everyone and their mothers were talking about it, and for weeks, you know. And the people who were wearing it, people were always kind of looking at it. All people have like different type of opinions. It was to make people talk, you know. And the more people talk about it, the more it's, you know, online, the more it kind of gains views and popularity, the more it is, you know, bringing awareness on the brand, you know. And because then people want to know who made them, why they made them, and all that jazz. And then they kind of come to discover that a brand like Mischief is a brand that likes to use a lot of gimmicks as well, and make, you know, those very interesting decision and collaborations, and also products that, you know, are very much inspired from, like, you know, like parallel worlds that we would not necessarily have here. Because like parallel worlds, I say, like cartoons and, you know, fictional elements to bring them into the reality. And you know, then the brand gets to be talked about. I think it's important to kind of know that gimmicks today in fashion, because of social media, and you know, the impact of social media, and the fact that you can actually reach so many people in such a small amount of time, and you know, like you can really spread your awareness and brand and existence online because of that, and because so many people have, you know, a presence on it. um like, more WTF the article is, the more it's gonna like get into people's mind, and the more it's gonna be talked about. I think now gimmicks within fashion maybe like for individual items that are sold by brands, or even on the runaway. I gave the example of Copenhagen, for example, to kind of make the whole thing something to talk about, because this is so kind of outlandish or so kind of WTF that people are going to remember it, and everybody's going to talk about it, because, you know, it was something that was not expected to happen. And I think, because again, the lack of innovation, this gimmick are much used today as a marketing tool. You know, how to kind of engage people, how to spread your reach outside, how to have a presence online, and how to distinguish yourself from another brand, and like how to kind of stand out in this fashion world where everything seems to be like very much the same. The use of, you know, gimmicks as a marketing tool is down to the attention economy. So the attention economy is the study of like the attention that we are giving to things. And since social media, our attention span has shortened like drastically. There's a reason why platforms such as YouTube and Instagram are favoring, and also I think Snapchat are favoring really short content that are called either shorts or reels, or, you know, or TikTok videos and stuff, because those videos are the ones that actually do well, because like you don't need to spend huge amount of time to really get the element in the video or understand the thing. So because of that, because because our attention is getting shorter and shorter, the need to kind of impact and to kind of leave kind of a stain in a way in people's memory is actually so important and necessary today, because of this attention span being so short. So how do you do that? You use gimmicks, because gimmicks are really quick. You can see this like in the blink of an eye, and then it can literally just, you know, staying there, and people are going to talk about it. You know, for example, the mischief boots, it was just seeing them that literally kind of catapulted it to these kind of massive things where everyone was talking about them, where even celebrities were wearing them and all that jazz. So gimmicks are really like used as an element that is here to cater to our short attention span. um like our attention span is just a few seconds, guys. Like I feel like that we're so used to scrolling, you know, that our attention span is actually so short. And I think this attention span is also due to the fact that we get so much information at such a fast pace, you know, from all over the world, that when you get so much information, and you know, it gets to the point where it's very overwhelming, because also apps are now set up to kind of, you know, push this information and this content to you constantly, because the more time you spend on the app, the more money they make. So because of that, since, you know, majority, since all those brands are now on social media and they have to rely on that, and social media is being saturated so much, using gimmicks is something that is necessary for them because it's quick, it's, spreadable, and like people on social media can pick it up very easily, like hence the spreadable and the shareable. And you get to also make sell in a way, because now like social media have become like marketplaces. When you look at Instagram, when you look at TikTok, you can directly buy from the app, so people is gonna drive people to your page, and it's gonna drive up sales. And it has even been mentioned and said that when an element becomes kind of gimmicky and viral as well, well, it drives up sale. And that's actually the thing with the attention span. And the attention span is so short that those brands need to rely on virality. Like, their content need to be viral. They need to be talked about as much as possible so they can actually get their brands out there. I think about Avavav and Sune, two brands that I've heard about because of they literally fashion shows. Because the Avavav, was it last year or the year before, where they did like a fashion show. So that one is for Avavav, where the models will walk down the runway and like trip on the floor, or clothes would literally rip on them and all that jazz. There was that one. Sane was with the twins. So basically, like all the models were all sets of twins, and they would literally, have walk. They would be walking down the street in kind of different parts of the runaway. I mean, different parts. Like, I think opposite side. I don't remember how it was. Or they also, I don't remember if it was Avavav or if it was Sane who used the models were actually part of the public, and then when it was their turn, they would literally just stand up and go on the runaway. And for Sane, they say that they had a need to have people engaged in those gimmicks, especially when it was the runaways, to have them engage. And so, it's not just a bore staying there watching the show. And not only for the people in the like on the spot, they can actually have like this direct engagement and kind of stay kind of alerted all the time, because things are happening so quick, and it's just so unexpected and stuff. But also for their online base, which are also going to be very much engaged, and the online base is going to be engaged in commenting, sharing, and buying. The only way to really capture an attention span, when you know that the attention span is so short and you need to get your name out there, is by, counting on like your content going viral, and for it to be like so out there that it can only go viral because people are going to interact with it. Like the bigger the thing gets, the more like weird and dumb and stupid it is, the more engagement you're gonna get, because people are just going to be like, what is this absurd things? And people are going to share their think pieces and stuff like that on the matter. So this need of virality to cater to the short attention span is clearly the reason why gimmicks have become so big and so used, where you see like, you know more and more brands making use of it, because they need to still be relevant, to stay afloat, to kind of have to you know be there. And when you live in this social media era, the way to be there is to make sure that people remember you, and people need to remember you by something. And even if it means like remembering you by something with just like one item, like for example, I think about the Mischief boots. Since then, Mischief has released other things, but I feel like that I don't really kind of remember what it was, because those Mischief boots are just so kind of, what the hell, that I know they released other things, but it did not actually impact me this much, because also I have not seen much people talking about it. It's just that then the next drop, people are still, have some eyes on the brand, but I feel like that you always have to outdo yourself, especially when you have like such a viral item. There's this whole need to kind of have to rely on virality all the time, because, well, when it's working and it's bringing money and all that, like, you can't suddenly stop taking that into account and being like, okay, so we try to cater to the attention span and use virality and like those gimmicks for that, but for the next thing, it's not going to be the case. I feel like at the moment you are known for something that goes viral in a social media age, you need to keep up with that. And I feel like that it's a very, very hard kind of thing to do, because having to think about like viral things, and having to be innovative in the viral realm is actually so hard, because nothing is guaranteeing you that it's going to be viral, that it might attract people. I feel like that you have to be you have to push your limits to some point, that sometimes it gets me to question, like how far is fashion is going to be, and is it going to still be fashion, or is it, it kind of then brings like other questions where you just like, okay, when you have to rely on this virality, when you have to rely on um the fact that your item has to make an impact right away when you post about it, like, and it goes, then it blows up to the point that people knows you for that. Like, how do you keep up the pressure to be like, okay, so this worked really well, we had a really amazing coverage, but now we need to keep up with that. And like, the goal of a fashion brand is still to make clothes and to sell them, so for me, it's something that I feel like that, you know fashion gimmicks have limits, but in this like completely effed up world and crazy society, I always wonder, where are the limits, because when you need to stay relevant and you need to make sure that people are talking about you, and you still, you know standing out from the crowd, I feel that some people may be ready to like go really far about that. And sometimes it's just so crazy to think about the fact that, you know, you might have to go far just to cater to a declining attention span, because we got so effed up with social media and receiving so much information and having to have everything given to us in a silver platter, and the information kind of chewed up for us, and all that like critical thinking is not on the table anymore. Reason why I like to do it, because we don't really have much critical thinking anymore, because things are actually so fast that you don't really have time to really think. And again, it comes to the trend cycle as well, because then something so outlandish become trendy, and then everybody want to hop onto the trend or whatever, because they think that it's working. But it's also the thing where, like, it might have worked once because it was actually completely new and innovative at that time, but like trying to reproduce it, then it's not going to have the same effect, because people are always are already like, yeah, it's already deja vu, and we've known about that already. So I think it creates like another type of competition within brands, that is, I feel like so much pressure, because now you know that, okay, so this brand did that and they did really well. So we need to either do something similar or to outdo them. So our brands can also get out there, like all brands have been in competition, don't get me wrong, but I feel like, because also, like especially smaller brands, that uses gimmicks, needs to make it out there, and needs to bring in new investors in order to stay afloat and stuff like that. Like, distinguishing yourself from another brand is actually so crucial today. It's where I talk about, the fact that I feel like, is it really fashion at this point? Because fashion is all about the clothes, all about the creative process of it, all about. And when you have to kind of put a little, like, put that aside and make sure that the way that your clothes can be sold and your brand can have investors is how well it is doing, virality wise. Sometimes I'm like, did fashion designers really signed up for that? For this chapter, I would like to talk about how the gimmicks within fashion has literally turned our heads to the point that when we see a show or we see a brand with very little to no gimmicks, but kind of going back into slick, well tailored, nice and wearable clothing, because the attention is on the quality of the item and kind of, having nice staples, people might call it boring. And I want to take the example of the Gucci collection, and like, the fact that the direction has changed, and because of that, like, I've seen so many people saying about how Gucci is not boring, and Gucci this and Gucci that, and people are comparing Alessandro Michele's Gucci to Sabato De Sarno Gucci, which, first of all, those are two different people. And that's the moment where critical thinking needs to come back with us, because, like, Alessandro Michele, who now is going to be like the new creative director for Valentino, I think. Like, he is known for his extravagance. Like, he was there to kind of revamp the whole Gucci world and kind of gave like Gucci a new kind of like direction, at being way more kind of out there. But it was also at a time when he started doing it, other brands started being a bit more also loud and kind of using more colors and patterns and all that jazz. Every trend, it kind of dies down after a while. And the new creative director, so Sabato De Sarno, is clearly like bringing Gucci back to um more like a time where everything was more about the tailoring, like to have nice tailored pieces, um that are wearable anywhere, anytime, for any weather. It's more about that it is about, bringing the gimmicks, or bringing the thing that is going to be very impactful. And there's also probably a reason why he's been chosen, because he would actually kind of give a more subtle look to Gucci, and it kind of makes me think about, this whole quiet luxury trend that is going on. Well, when I look at Gucci today, for me, it's literally quiet luxury, and quiet luxury in general is just very well tailored, good materials, handmade, and all that jazz. And basically, it's not like the out there clothing. It's not usually, it's very subdued and subtle and all that jazz. So, like, because Gucci decided not to really go all out with the gimmicks and the flamboyance and all that. And people were so used to that, and people in general are so used to seeing this, because I feel like that fashion without gimmicks today feels a bit boring. Um, I feel like some people were a bit disappointed with the new direction of Gucci, where you can't compare one creative director to another because they clearly have different styles. And I think also because now high streets and like independent small designers are now using also gimmicks. There's this thing with fashion, especially luxury fashion, is that the moment they do something that usually they actually copied from somewhere else without crediting, but the moment they get it and then other brands, smaller brands start doing it, they're going to shift, because there's always this need to really show that you're not like the other ones, and because we live in a society where it's the law of the powerful, the rich and powerful. So the moment they see that something is being picked up by the masses, well, they're going to shift, because now they need to really kind of demark themselves from the masses, So I feel like that also, like, we're going to start seeing more luxury brands using less gimmicks. I feel like that already Loewe, if you look at recent collections of Loewe, like the recent fashion weeks that we had, there were already barely any gimmicks, I feel that now it's more into the work, and I feel that Loewe is now putting a lot of emphasis on that, especially on the social media, on the craftsmanship of their clothing, So now it's more about the quality and not necessarily about the virality. I think we now starting to see a whole shift happening. And you know that when the like luxury brands are starting to do this shift, it means that there's clearly something happening and the brands are going to follow. So which also mean that the whole um gimmicky things within fashion is dying down, and we might see less and less of that. And it also is probably linked to the fact that people are getting a bit tired of it, because when you see it, especially with the amount of information that we get from social media, well, it's not like the like people get really really annoyed and tired very quickly, and it's more kind of irritating more than anything. And so many things are also happening in this world where I feel like there's a whole questioning of like social media, our consumption, and things are shifting. I mean, I'm really really hopeful that it's shifting for the better. We are slowly but surely veering away from an individualistic society to a more community based. So hopefully because of that, because we're going to have more organizing, it also means that we're going to get our attention span growing as well, and start to really enjoy like fashion for the love of it, for the love of the clothing, for the love of the craftsmanship, for the love of the work that goes behind it, for the creative process that does not necessarily involve having to put the clothes more on the sideline so you can find a quick viral idea to push your brand out there. I hope that the way we heading towards is going to be kinder to small designers, because I say it and I'll say it forever. Small designers are the future. Because like the monopoly that we are facing within fashion is actually getting so banned that I feel like that brands are becoming a copy of a copy, especially if you take one corporation and you look at their brands, feel that it's all kind of the same. And also we don't see much diversity in it. Like if you've seen like the creative director within a corporation in Cairns or LVMH, like yeah, the diversity is really really lacking. um so I think, small designers are the ones who are going to also like still give us hope that fashion is still worth loving for its craftsmanship and creativity and diversity as well. Because they also have like more uh freedom with their work. But I feel like that if we can, as much as possible, relieve them from having to rely on creating, viral content all the time, and having to put like kind of the love for the clothing aside. That would be amazing. I wish that we could just really like enjoy the brand for what it is, and not necessarily just because it has one viral thing, because then it's a lot of pressure. Like I said like before, it's going to be a lot of pressure for the brand to have to then keep up with the virality all the time, and have to outdo itself and outdo like another brand, and it's creating more kind of competitions and stuff like that. Whereas we should it should not happen this way. It should not happen this way. And then I feel like that also, because the competition gets so big and so fierce and so sharky and so bad, that then it kind of pushes some uh brands and small brands to sell their brands to corporations, and that's how we lose um like diversity and creativity within the brand. Social media is great, and that is still an amazing platform to be used to, when you have a brand and to talk about a brand and all that jazz. But I think it should not be like detrimental to a brand, where if they're not making viral content every time they release a new product, well, they risk of being forgotten, or people are going to talk about them less, because they were just like a viral thing. Like the example that I gave with the mischief boots, I know that they released something, but I can't even remember what it was, because it did not make as much noise as it did with the mischief cartoonish bits. I'm really hoping that we are heading towards a more fair and just system that is putting community at the forefront, and not necessarily kind of, you know, having gimmicks here and there where we just completely fed up with them. And like, let's go back to loving clothes for the quality of them and not just the virality of them. So guys, that's it for me for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on fashion gimmicks? Is it something that you enjoy, that you find fun, or is it something that you are also kind of tired of, or it's something that you never really paid attention to? Let me know in the comments. Follow me on my socials, and especially my Substack, if you want to know more and read more about other societal issues that I like to talk about and write about and share my thoughts on. And in the meantime, I'll see you in my next video. Love always.